You're listening to a Prairie Punk House Companion right here on the Prairie Punk Press Network. The views expressed by any host or any guest on the Prairie Punk House Companion are the personal views or opinions of the people who express them and do not reflect the views or opinions of anyone else on the show or any company, employer, or any other organization that the individual expressing them has or will affiliate with in the past, present, or future. Hi, everybody. You're listening to a Prairie Punk House Companion. We are now on episode 28, only 2 episodes away from hitting that dirty 30, I guess the kids are calling it. My name is Neckbone.
Hi, I'm Jerbear, and you should all pour one out for Michelle Trachtenberg, aka Dawn Summers, R.I.P.
Yeah, I agree. Let's pour one out for Michelle Trachtenberg, the Buffy co-star from the end of season 4 onwards, and Harriet the Spy. She was only 39 years old. We're super bummed about it. I know Jerbear and I really became attached to the Buffy TV show when we first moved to KCMO in 1999 as Kansas City, Missouri, and would even have Buffy watch parties that included synchronized sitting and plenty of Old English 800 malt liquor 40s. So let's all pour one out for Michelle Trachtenberg. If you don't drink alcohol anymore, using soda instead is perfectly acceptable. So I also want to say that for the first time, we tried Meta's advertising. We boosted our post for our other podcast, Punk Movie Review, on a band called Death. And man, we're never going to do that again. So we used the boost post advertising. It's for Facebook Meta. It was awful. Sorry to everybody who got a robo direct message. We're never going to do that again. Meta sucks. Zuck sucks. Yeah, that was a lessons learned for us. We do, however, want more listeners, which is why we tried the advertising route. This just attracted bots and trolls almost exclusively. So many bots. Holy crap. We got DMs from, I don't know, like 10, 15 bots. So moving forward, we're going to try to grow more organically. Like I said before, I care more about having more listeners than I do about making money. So now, if we could do this full time, we'd be cranking out way more content. I wish I could do this kind of stuff full time. I wish I didn't have to have a day job and another part-time job on top of my day job. But as long as we do still have our day jobs, I'm not really super concerned with making money. Mostly, I just want listeners. So spread the word. Tell everybody you like. Tell people you don't like if they're cool. Subscribe to all of our stuff and give us all the thumbs ups and all that stuff. We are in the future going to have additional podcasts and YouTube channels coming out this year. Some of them will have entirely different hosts who aren't us. So I know we call ourselves a network, but it's really just me and Jerbear. But moving forward, we would like to have more podcasts. And I'm not going to get into what podcasts we have coming up right now because they're still in development with the hosts. So we'll announce those whenever they actually get to a point where they're about to come out. We are celebrating our 1-year anniversary with this episode. So it was March of 2024 when we started podcasting, and we put our little intro talking about what we were planning on doing. We probably have gotten way off base from where that was, but that's okay. And we are going to have a YouTube channel coming out called Horizontal with Neck and Jer. So yeah, we're going to be talking about issues that affect everyday people. And we're going to dip into politics a little bit too, I'm sure, because it is impossible to talk about issues that affect everyday people without dipping into politics, especially now. A lot of edicts from this administration are already affecting everyday people, and it will continue to affect everyday people negatively in the future. And I think a lot of people are coming around to that now. If you are somebody who's always been on the left, then I'm glad you listened to us. If you are a liberal who is starting to kind of see that the Democrats aren't going to save you, then welcome. And even if you're somebody who voted for Donald Trump 3 times and you're finally starting to realize that he is a con man and what him and Elon Musk are doing to our country is a horrible thing, then welcome. I'm not going to sit here and give you crap and do a see I told you so. I'm not going to get pleasure from your pain because we're on the same side. We've always been on the same side, and if you're starting to see that, then welcome. Awesome. Let's work together. But enough about politics. This is an episode about independent filmmaking, and this episode is the additional interview we had with Mark Covino, filmmaker Mark Covino, that didn't make the A Band Called Death episode of Punk Movie Review because we talked more about indie filmmaking and stuff that didn't pertain to that movie specifically. So we went ahead and rolled that into this episode. So yeah, the last episode of Punk Movie Review was A Band Called Death, and this is our extended conversation with Mark. And Mark talks about DIY and indie film making in the industry, and especially how indie film creators basically get fucked over by producers and by distributors, and Turtle from Entourage. Just kidding, but also not kidding. Listen to our Punk Movie Review episode of A Band Called Death. Turtle from Entourage is involved. And listen for all that, and then listen to this episode too. And like I said, subscribe to both. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, download from our RSS feed, and do all the stuff. Spread the word, get other people to listen. So yeah, Mark Covino, director of A Band Called Death, is a New York, Vermont filmmaker. Probably most famous for A Band Called Death, but he's also directed an awesome movie called The Crest, which I saw recently, and I know Jerbear has already seen it. I had not watched it yet when we actually recorded our Band Called Death episode. So if you hear me, later on saying, "Oh, I haven't seen it yet," it's because that was recorded a few weeks ago when I hadn't seen it. So go watch that. You can watch that on Tubi. Tubi should be giving us money, because we shout them out on almost every episode because there's tons of free movies there. I don't know how ethical of a company they are. I have not looked into it, but I do watch a lot of stuff on Tubi just because it is there. A Band Called Death is unfortunately only available on YouTube in ripped copies that are not legit. Mark has stated he doesn't care if you watch it there because the only other way to watch it is to get a physical copy of the DVD or Blu-ray from Mark's Etsy page, which we will put in the description. So you can go there and get a hard copy if you want to. Mark has been involved in the TV or film industry at some capacity since 1999. So we want to thank Mark again for being here. And now he is on both of our podcasts. So Jerbear, take it away.
One of the things that I mentioned earlier before we started recording, and I feel this way about your other film, The Crest, how as a filmmaker, you don't just put talking heads up and show archival footage. You immerse yourself in the story without becoming part of the story or influencing the story. You're an observer, but so close with the subjects that it really brings in the viewer and is so engaging. Like so many documentaries I watch, I can do other things. And I rewatched A Band Called Death last night. And, at first I was like kind of doing some other stuff, dealing with kids, getting them to bed, trying to do other stuff. And like the longer it went on, the more I found myself just watching it because it is so engaging and it's just so good. It's beautifully shot. The editing is incredible. And the story is wonderful. It's just so good.
Mm-hmm. I think a lot of that stems to the very first film that I tried to make, very first feature, which was a mockumentary. It was about Vermont people. It was called What State is Vermont In? And we interviewed real Vermont people. And then on the side, we filmed us. We turned the cameras on us and filmed us as incompetent filmmakers because I was like, well, this film's going to look like shit. We got to cover our asses somehow. And we played characters. But when we were filming real people, I started to realize that me staying out of it and letting them tell their stories was more engaging and more interesting. And letting them kind of just like be in control of their own narrative, and then I'll let the audience figure out what they want to go with based on what these people are talking about. I never wanted to insert myself into it and change their stories or anything, and so I use that with every film after.
It works so well. And for like, can we also talk about the Crest a little bit? Because
I would love to.
It's a super interesting story. Hopefully it doesn't have as many like sour feelings or whatever from the history of it or whatever. But
it was a rough production, but at the end of the day, I'm more proud of that film than A Band Called Death, because that one was 100% me. Like, I edited it, I directed it, like from very beginning to the very end, like I pieced that thing together. It's where I found my composer for life, Darius Hulbert, who is just an amazing composer, and he gave me a score for that movie, The Crest. He gave me a score that I just think is not worthy of the movie. Like, it's so much better than the movie. I think the movie's not worthy of that score. But still, like, I'm very proud of the journey I went on for that, because it wasn't easy to make. There was a lot of behind the scenes stuff.
Just real quick synopsis of The Crest and how you found these kids to do a documentary about, because it's so strange and
totally
interesting.
And I don't know if you noticed, but there's some parallels to the story of death with the 45 and the fiddle found in an attic. So basically at the Vermont premiere of A Band Called Death, that the one that my dad got to see the film, you know, and actually be proud of me finally as a filmmaker. Right after that screening, my friend who I had made the hip hop documentary with, who was one of my first friends when I moved to Vermont, I met him at the movie theater. His name is John Kane. He approached me at the end of the screening of A Band Called Death, and he said, he introduced me to his cousin, Andrew Jacob. And he's like, "Hey, Mark, this is my cousin Andrew Jacob, and he's a surfer, and he just discovered that he's got a cousin out in California named DK, and he's a surfer, and they both like live and work off the water, and coincidentally they found each other because one of them found a blog about this fiddle that was found in an attic in Ireland that dates back to their great great grandfather, who was called the King of the Blasket Islands, and he told me the whole story about how this guy basically was like in charge of this small group of islands in Ireland that was separated from the mainland. It was basically like its own country. And because of those islands, it was able to help preserve things like the Gaelic language or Irish language, they call it over there. And other traditions like navogues, the boats that they made and the way they fished and everything. And so there's like a lot of this history that's kind of connected to what these kids are doing today, like through their blood, like they're still doing what their ancestors are doing. And as he's telling me all this, I'm like, okay, he's like basically pitching me this as an idea for a film. And already like the bells are going off in my head. Like, this is a great way to tell a piece of Irish history I haven't seen before that a younger generation can see and relate to, because they're seeing these young surfer dudes, you know? And so I told him, I said, I'm totally in. Like, this sounds great. And also a trip to Ireland.
Right.
But I told John, because John's father was very well off, but I said, listen, like, I would love to make this with you, but like, I don't want to use your dad's money and I don't have any money. So like, let's try to raise the money through Kickstarter. So we did a Kickstarter campaign, and I think with a little bit of the buzz with A Band Called Death, and as well as just all of us putting in a lot of effort to get the word out, we were able to raise $32,000. That got us started. And then we also did the old-fashioned way, where we would meet with John's dad's rich friends, and I would give them copies of A Band Called Death shrink wrapped, and I'd be like, "I'm the director of this. We're trying to make this film. Can you give us some money?" And we got a 501c3, and so we got those people to donate some money, and they could write it off in their taxes. And then eventually John's dad ended up putting in some money. I mean, he put in a lot of money because we just ran out of all of that. But but that's how it started, and that it's one of my. It was a hard production. A lot of things fell apart throughout it, but it was also this amazing journey. I got to see and learn a lot about Ireland and parts of Ireland that I never even knew about. These group of islands, the Blasket Islands, you can actually see them in the latest Star Wars movies. They're where Luke Skywalker lives in
Oh, for real? I
the
didn't
last
realize
two
that.
movies.
Yeah.
Yep. They
Okay.
shot there. While we were filming, they were filming on the mainland, and we could actually see them in the distance.
No shit.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
Mark Hamill was bumping into people at the local pub and everything.
That's
Nice.
awesome.
But it was just an amazing journey and an amazing experience as a filmmaker, and it was the kind of filmmaking I want to do, which is to explore other cultures and other countries, and I like adventure. I like going, you know, we were climbing up mountains and stuff. I mean, it was insane. And just to learn about how these people lived on those islands and to actually be on those islands and see how brutal it is. It was an
Yeah.
eye-opening experience. Definitely,
Nice.
definitely very proud of that film. And I hope people can see it. It's on. So it was bought by Gravitas Ventures, and they actually have it on YouTube for free. They have a sports channel. I can't remember what it's called, but if you just type in the Crest and Mark Covino, it should pop up.
Mhm.
And
You
it
should
might
watch
be on,
it. It's great.
and it might be on Tubi too. But it's a fun
I
film.
think
Yeah.
I think it
Yeah.
is on TV. Yeah.
It's
Um,
yeah, the coincidences and the family story and the scenery and again the
Yeah.
engagement. It's really good. Kudos. What was who can you tell us who your hip hop documentary was about? Or
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was on my friend John Kane again. Like he's really great with this. He he approached me one time. It was shortly after. It was a year or two after I did the "What State Is Vermont in" movie. The goofy mockumentary that I don't want anyone to see because it's horrible. um, but my mom had just died. I was kind of depressed, and I wanted to make a movie, but I didn't know what to make. And I think John had went to Full Sail, and he was living out in California, and he wasn't happy with his situation. And he just hit me up one day, and he's like, you know what? I think we should just make a documentary because you did "What State Is Vermont in," and he's like, you get the doc thing, I think. And he's like, I've got two ideas. I want to swing them by you and see what you think. And he's like, one idea is to do a documentary on the Minutemen in Texas, who are those guys
Mhm.
that, deal with the border
Yeah.
issues. And the other idea was a hip hop doc about these two rappers from Connecticut. They're both white, but
Sorry,
but
Connecticut.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
you said Connecticut. So.
From Windsor Locks, Connecticut. He's like, one of my friends is a really big fan of their band, but here's the catch. Here's the reason why I'm mentioning it to you. One of the rappers has no arms or legs, and he rhymes like Eminem. But the hip hop thing is more accessible. It's in Windsor Locks, Connecticut. I can drive down there from Vermont. It's like a 4 hour drive, I think, 4 or 5 hour drive. It wasn't bad. And so John and I, that's the one we picked. And another thing I liked about those kids was they hung out with Wu-Tang Clan, Rakim, Chuck D.
Oh, for real?
So you see all of them in
Nice.
the movie.
Oh, wow.
And so, they were really good hustlers,
Mhm.
That's the whole hip hop thing is hustling.
Right, yeah,
And
yeah.
so these kids were really good at, keeping in touch with these cats and and opening for them on shows and stuff. And I wasn't sure what the film was going to become. I mean, the reason that they got into rap was because the reason they got into hip hop was because of the way they grew up. Like the kid with arms and legs, his mother was murdered and burnt to death.
Oh, fuck.
Jesus.
And the killer is still alive in prison
Oh,
now. But
fuck.
and that's what got him into it. The limbless kid was born without arms or legs.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean,
right.
can't think of anything and so he went to music to overcome those issues.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
and they were both really fucking good musicians, I gotta say.
Nice.
And their name was pretty in your face. It was called Hush, Help Us Save Hip Hop. Two white boys are gonna do that, I
Right.
guess.
Yeah.
but they
Thank
were
God
hanging
these
out.
white people are going to save this black
Yeah,
music.
right.
Just like
you
they
know,
did with jazz.
but the thing I liked about their music was it was very old school, which I'm more a fan of old school.
Same.
They hung out with a lot of the icons, the godfathers of it all, as well as Wu-Tang Clan, who I was a big fan of
Yeah.
when I was in high school. Um, and it was fun for a while, but then it just kind of fell apart because like money ran out uh, and the hip hop kids, like I don't know, like there were issues between the two of them, and they ended up breaking up, and it was just hard to get both of them to cooperate after a while. And I was like, this is too exhausting, and I'm just spending all of my free time on this. And but that was the first time that I had a film that had a Howard Stern show clip in it, because they were on the Stern show.
Oh wow!
So like that became a weird thing where like a band called Death opens with the Howard Stern show clip.
Yeah,
right.
And I learned a lot of my interview techniques from listening to that show. So
nice.
yeah. And that nobody can see the hip hop doc, unfortunately. There's a trailer on my Vimeo page. So if you go to Vimeo, it's called Against All Odds. What's the name of it?
Okay.
And I know that's a cheesy title, but the reason I called it Against All Odds is because we had a series of news clips. Like they were on the news a lot, these two kids. And almost every fucking news clip, the title was Against All Odds. I'm like, well, if everyone is calling it, everyone's calling their story that, I might as well call the movie that. That could have been a great film, and everybody keeps trying to get me to finish it, but I can't do it. I don't have money to do it. If anyone wants to take it and finish it, you're more than I'm serious. Like you are more than welcome to take all of my hard drives, as long as I know you have a budget to do it and you're serious and you're not going to waste anyone's time. The kids are broken up. They've gone their own separate ways. I don't keep in touch with them at all. So you're going to have to get back in touch with them to catch up.
This must have been a while ago too. So
yeah. And it was
if this is pre a band called Death, then
it was pre a band called Death, and it was a really hard film to make too, because I almost died. I was coming back from a late night shoot, filming them out in Troy, New York, I think it was, and there was a dead animal in the middle of the road on Highway 90, I think it is. It's a very icy, long highway in the wintertime that only semi trucks drive on, and I spun out of control and smashed both ends of my car, and I was
oh my God,
I had a passenger, and I was really close to death there. But yeah, each film has those things. each film has had its nightmares.
I do want to like throw out my. It's funny that you mentioned that you hit a dead animal on the way back, because when I was getting my undergrad, I wasn't sure. I changed my major like a million times, but this is when my major was film production, and I was taking a class where I was working PA for a movie called Firecracker that's being shot out in Wamego, Kansas, and that's like 3 hours from where I was going to school. Yeah. So whenever I'd get time, I'd have to drive out to Wamego, and this is a movie starring Mike Patton from Faith No More, and
Karen Black.
Black.
Cool.
Yeah.
Sick.
And I was an unpaid PA doing it for college credit.
Yeah.
And on the way back, it was the middle of the night, and I hadn't made it to I-70 yet. I was on that side highway that you have to go down to get from Wamego to I-70. And sure enough, I'm driving my, 1996 Dodge Neon, and which is a legendarily shitty car. And I hit a fucking some stag runs across the highway, and I smash into it head on.
Yeah,
Jesus. It totals the front end of my car. And it's still alive after that. And it's like laying on the ground, and these rednecks pull up behind me, and I'm by myself.
Yeah,
and these guys get out, and they're in this big old truck with the KC lights, and they get out with rifles, and I'm just like, oh fuck, man, are they gonna kill me? Like, and they're just like,
you mind if we take this for dinner?
Yeah, they're like, you hit a stag, and I was like, yeah, I guess I did. And they're like, we'll take care of it, and they fucking shot it through the back of the truck and drove off, and I was like,
so mine was already dead, but I thought it was a deer, and so that's why I swerved, because in Vermont we deal with that a lot.
Yeah,
and if a deer hits your radiator, I mean, it can fuck your shit up. So I was Stu. I should have just went right through it, but I didn't know what it was, and I swerved. Anyway, this is where I learned a new breed of animal I never heard of before. So after a while, a fucking road worker pulls up. He wasn't even a tow truck guy, and he sees if we're okay, and we're like, yeah, and he's like, did you all see that coy dog back there? And I was like, what the fuck is a coy dog?
Apparently,
coyote, right?
Apparently, a coy dog is a coyote that fucks a dog.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
It's a hybrid dog coyote. Yeah.
We have a big problem with coy wolves here in Illinois. We have half coyote, half wolf.
I learned what they were that
airport.
day.
They're like by O'Hare Airport, one of the busiest airports in the world. Yeah. They hang out. They just like live around the airport for some reason.
It's a shame that film never got done because that actually could have been a good one.
Yeah. You said, do you have enough footage for it to be?
Yeah, I definitely got enough for a feature.
Yeah.
I mean, it needs updating. It needs.
Yeah.
There was a lot involved in terms of each of those kids' stories. In particular, like the kid whose mother was burnt alive. I got a lot out of him. I got enough to get his story, his arc told. Mm-hmm. It was very like as lame as it is, white rapper in Connecticut. Mm-hmm. Like he had a really intense story, and
that sounds like
I got his dad on camera, and he was tearing up, and his family was very welcoming and appreciative that I wanted to tell their story. I even have the kid going to his mother's gravesite, which might not have her actual ashes in it, which was depressing to see.
But, fuck.
But the limbless kid, like I just knew there was more to his story, and he was very secretive about a lot of things. Mm-hmm. Even talking about thalidomide and trying to see if he's a product of thalidomide, and like he was very hush hush about a lot of shit. And even his previous hip hop band, like both of them wouldn't want to talk about this hip hop band that they were in. That was all other black guys and them. Yeah. It was like 3 or 4 black guys and them. I'm like, why can't you guys talk about that band?
Right.
Like, we don't talk about them. Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, but they're part of your journey. Like, we need to know like what went down. And I think I finally did end up getting them to talk about it. Each of my films, I've had to struggle. Well, except for The Crest. A Band Called Death and the hip hop doc, I had to struggle to get people to talk about certain things. I had to struggle to get them to talk about the hip hop. I had to struggle to get the guys in A Band Called Death to talk about David being an alcoholic and a druggie.
Oh yeah.
They would not talk about. They wanted him to be a rock star that was perfect. Blah blah blah. And I'm like, no, I'm not telling that story. I want to know David's story.
Interesting.
It's not interesting.
and not
the
true.
The audience will connect with him more if they see he's a human that has flaws that they have.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
It took about 1.5 years, and also Jeff helped too because Jeff is a recovering druggie and alcoholic.
Oh
yeah.
And he's like 30 years now, I think maybe, and he's great. He's every year it's awesome. He's doing great, but he helped with that too tremendously, getting them to understand how important it was. But yeah, it took about like 1.5 years to get those guys to even mention any of that. So the stuff you see in the film, that's why their clothes change.
I was gonna say I could tell that a lot of time had passed. Like especially like was it David's wife? I was like, her hair is completely different length in the next scene. So
hanging out with her alone in their house was that to me that was one of my favorite moments making the film because I felt more connected to David than I was alone with her. Yeah. And she was showing me his guitar. She played music on it. I think it's one of the deleted scenes on the Blu-ray. You can actually see her playing David's guitar.
Oh, wow. Nice.
That to me was like a very revealing, honest interview. And it made me feel more connected to David in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Always felt like I'm an atheist. I'm not spiritual, but I felt like David was like with me the entire time. Just like the essence of him. And I never wanted to do him dirty. I wanted to just tell his real story.
I mean, that's kind of a theme throughout the movie for the brothers also. I mean, and the kids, they all mentioned, they all said that it felt like David was there and a part of it.
Yeah.
So, that's really fucking cool, man.
I think about him still. Like a lot of what David believed in and a lot of what he said and a lot of the way he lived his life. There's a lot of parallels to my own, and some of it's dangerous. Like I'm very poor because I dedicate too much time to just creating and not making money, and it's not
Yeah.
it's not healthy. I can't keep doing it anymore.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
kind of
yeah,
punk as fuck.
I think creative people who work on creative passions and the humanities in general are not valued. You know, okay, STEM may be how we live, but the humanities are why we live. This is what gives us purpose. This is why we want to continue to go. And I feel like people just don't give a shit about the humanities anymore, and they devalue them. They don't want to pay people to do creative things that, like, you know, I get the same thing with people just asking me like, hey, I know you do graphic design. You can do this. Why don't you just do this for me real quick? And I'm just like, I mean,
fucking pay me.
Yeah.
I've found a way to get paid for my creativity, but I had to sell my soul for it. But
Yeah.
like most people,
I got this past last year, I got my first paid director gig.
Wow.
It's been 25 years, by the way, since I started this journey.
Yeah, your earliest IMDb entry is from 1999.
Yeah, ingest. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a whole nother story. That was my first experience getting fucked over.
We'll have you on again.
Yeah, we should.
But yeah, this past year I made my latest film, which is a 25-minute documentary, just like how Jeff wanted to make it.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I saw you post about it today.
Yeah.
Why don't you take this opportunity to plug some of the other stuff?
Yeah.
Are you staying in Atlanta?
Yeah, I was just going to ask that too. Are you going to stay? And you said you're downgrading, but are you tied there?
So the movie I moved here for, I won't get into it because that's going to be a whole big can of worms, but we can talk about that later. But it fell apart, and so it ruined everything. Like I had a whole plan for my future, and then it just fucking went poof. And so now I'm stuck here. I don't have any plans for my future. I don't know what to do with myself. I do want to eventually go back to Vermont and maybe buy my dad's house back from the reverse mortgage that he got roped into.
Oh, fuck.
You know, and maybe I'll just live in Vermont in his house, because he's also got all of his artwork up there. But
I've seen some of his art. It's really great.
Yeah, he's a great classical portrait artist.
Very talented.
I have to, at some point in my life, I have to figure out how to become an art dealer / manager of his art, because you know he didn't do a lot to help himself stay out there while technology caught up. He hated the internet. He never wanted to post shit on the internet, and so it's his fault that he's kind of fallen into obscurity over the years, because he did a lot of big things. He painted Marvin Gaye, he painted Dinah Shore, he painted Gloria Swanson, he created the Slammy Award for the WWF. I mean, he did so many things throughout his career that just like nobody knows about. And so eventually I want to maybe do a traveling roadshow virtual documentary where I talk about his life, because he had a very fascinating life on top of the artwork, and then I'll use that to get through to a younger audience to get interested in his art. But yeah, the last year, a friend of mine who's a producer who I met at Tallgrass.
Oh, nice.
He's a producer. His name is John Gann.
I don't know if I know him. I don't know.
I'll send you a photo. You probably recognize him.
Yeah.
I have a photo from Tallgrass actually with them.
Oh, nice.
But kept in touch with him over the years, and I never really thought he, you know, we were friends, but I never really thought he thought about me like in terms of collaborating. And then I think he saw a post I did like about a year and a half ago, which I do a couple of these. You've seen them, where I'm just like down. I'm really down, and I'm just like, fucking, I'm done with film.
Yeah.
You know, I gotta find something else. This is killing me. And he saw that post, and I think it was the post that I did where I was like, fuck a band called Death, like it ruined my life, blah blah blah. You know, haven't seen a penny, and like, you know, all it's done is caused issues, including it's part of the reason why I moved to Georgia, because it led to the film I moved to Georgia. And you know, it's just like, and you know, these fucking producers I got that basically stole our movie from us. Like, it's just like, and it's an endless nightmare that I have to live with. And
didn't they fucking steal the Facebook page too? Somehow?
No, we weren't sure what happened there. I think something happened, but we eventually, Jeff and I got it back, and now our names are on it and they're off of it.
Okay.
I think that might have been connected to Matt. I don't know, but we got it back. It was hard. It took us a long time because Facebook don't listen to any, and we had ends with Facebook, and that didn't help. But we eventually got that back, thank God. It's fucking endless nightmare. Like I said, it's just I made a film that everybody loves. Why can't it love me back?
Right.
Like, why does it have to treat me like shit? But anyway, John saw that post and he felt really bad that I was feeling that way, and he offered this job to me, which was directing a documentary on this artist from Washington D.C. named Jacob Kanan, who was very influential in bringing the art scene to D.C. Back in the 40s and 50s and 60s, and so that's what I've been doing for the past year and a half, and the film's done, and it's actually this will probably come out way after it, but the film's having its world premiere at the National Gallery of Art this Saturday coming up.
Oh, nice.
And I believe it'll eventually be available on Jacob Kanan's website, so people should be able to see it there in the future. But yeah, my composer from the Crest, got him back. He gave me another Oscar-worthy score. I mean, I love the score.
Nice.
I love Darius Halbert, my composer. He is the only person these days who inspires me to want to keep creating, because I want to hear what he comes up with next. Like, I want to make a fucking Western, whether it's a documentary Western or a real Western, and I want to hear his Western score. I want to make a horror documentary or a horror film and hear his horror score, because he understands me. He knows what I like, and he's just an amazing artist. He composed this while he was defending his house from the wildfires in California.
Oh,
and I told him, I said, dude, you do not have to work on this while you're doing this. And we were down to the wire, and he knew that. But I was like, just don't risk your life for the fucking movie.
Right.
He was like, nah, I can get it in, man. I can get it in. He got it in. It's fucking amazing. And I can't praise Darius enough. Again, he's the guy that did music for Hobo with a Shotgun. And he found me on Twitter, of all places.
Oh, wow.
That's how I got him for the Crest. Same way that Scott Mosier found us back at the beginning.
That's fucking wild.
He found us on Twitter. So it's a shame what's happened to that place, but
yeah, right. Well, maybe we can all find people on Blue Sky now.
I'm having fun on Threads. I get people hate Zuck, and I don't like him either. But honestly, I've got a really good community on Threads. It took a while. It took me a while to manage it, to get rid of the shit, because there's a lot of shit in there. A lot of the MAGAs found their way in there, and I got rid of them.
They found their way into everything.
Yeah, I just can't get rid of them.
Yeah.
It's like Gremlins. But no, it's like a mix between film community, civil rights, like people who are just fed up with government from both sides. Like, because I've always been very independent. I found my people there, and I've been hanging out there. I like it. I'm sure it's gonna go to shit, like every app goes to shit.
Yeah.
But that, if people want to like hear from me, that's where they can go. That's where I spit my bullshit every day.
So we usually ask people that we bring on if they prefer, which side of the shit split they prefer. I don't imagine you're aware of the shit split.
No.
So instead of that,
of
that, I think that I'll just ask what your favorite trauma film is.
Oh, nice.
I mean, it's so lame, but it's definitely Toxic Avenger.
All right, nice.
Don't mess with a classic.
Yeah, don't fuck with the classic. Yeah.
To me, it's peak. I mean, Sergeant Kabuki Man is maybe a close second.
Yeah.
But there's something about Toxic Avenger. I can throw it on and I just feel good, because I think up until even Kabuki Man, well, maybe Romeo and Juliet, but I really do feel like with Toxic Avenger, you know how Lloyd, like, he's kind of gotten a little loose with trying to create like art and just like doing straight up, just like whatever.
Right.
Yeah. At the I still think he was trying to make just like a very good comic book movie. Toxic
it
Avenger.
Seems like, yeah.
And I can see it. Like I can feel that's a filmmaker really trying his best to make the best fucking film that he can make with no money, you know?
Right. Yeah.
And so it's inspiring and it makes me happy. And I love everything about it. It's what got me in the Trauma. So it's always going to be my number one, but definitely just like Sergeant Kabuki Man. It's like a close second.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sweet.
Yeah.
And I love Lloyd. Like Lloyd is an inspiration to me.
For sure.
Like
I think any independent filmmaker should look up to him and look to him for
I'm
guerrilla
well aware.
filmmaking and shit.
I've got tons of friends that have worked in these films. I'm well aware of the issues. I know, but making independent film, you're going to get issues. Like it's not easy.
Yeah.
It's not it's always going to be a struggle. People are always going to be treated like shit. It's just the way it works. It sucks. People don't get paid. Like I don't think Trey and Matt ever made a penny from Cannibal the Musical.
I'm sure they didn't. No,
but they're still very, like
I'm sure they're okay.
Very appreciative.
Okay.
I mean, dude, but again, $900 million later, they're fine. But they've always been appreciative of the fact that if it wasn't for Lloyd, people wouldn't have known their names at the time.
Cool.
Lloyd helped them get to where they are.
Yeah.
And
who else? James Gunn.
James Gunn. Big
got to
time.
start with Lloyd.
And James, to his credit, every one of these big Marvel or DC films, he puts Lloyd in them. Like he's still, he wants to pay back the favor because Lloyd is the reason he's doing the things he's doing.
Yeah.
Right.
It sucks to like the way some people get treated on those films, but you got to understand, like when you're working on the Trauma film, it's a crash course in filmmaking. It's going to suck, but it's going to teach you a lot of what not to do. And also like you're part of if you are the director, you have a Trauma movie, like that will forever be seen by people. You're probably never going to see a penny from it, but still, like, I think, I say that as somebody who hasn't seen a penny for a band called Death.
Right.
But I don't think Drafthouse Films had the same kind of, popularity as Trauma. Like Trauma is eternal. Like it's
right. Yeah.
So I don't know. It's
I love Trauma. Trauma had its own. Well, I used to work at a video store a long time ago when that was still a place you could work. Trauma had its own section.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Nice.
Yeah.
They actually do that in their movies. I mean, whenever they show a video store, they'll have like a Trauma section.
We had a Trauma section.
I met Lloyd once in my life. It was at my first film festival experience. It was at the Lake Placid Film Forum. And I was obviously obsessed with Trauma, and none of the other students knew anything about them. So I was training the students about. I was like, "Listen, this is what it's gonna be like. They're gonna have chicks with their tits hanging out, or some of them are gonna get arrested because they're planning to do a Trauma parade in the middle of this cute little like white bread town in Lake Placid, New York." But Lloyd could not have been kinder. And more giving. He took me and my buddy to the bar. He was looking around. He's like, "You guys are a couple of college kids. Where's a good place where we can get some LSD?" And then he bought me and my buddy some beers, and we just like hung out with the Trauma team for a couple of days, and got into trouble. Like the police did come, but we were written about in the paper.
Nice.
But it was my first film festival experience, and there were other filmmakers there. Guillermo del Toro was there. We got Guillermo del Toro to hang out with Lloyd Kaufman, and they talked about doing a Toxic Avenger remake, through Hollywood.
Which
and
is
that was because of my college. Yeah, which happened already. Elijah Wood's in it actually.
Oh yeah.
Jesus, full circle.
Who do you know who directed it? It's not
Macon Blair.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what to think about it.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. I have friends that have seen it, and they said it's not that good. But,
damn.
I'm sure there's a reason why it was so hard to get released, but it's finally getting released this spring or this fall, I think. It's got a great cast. I'm definitely, I'm psyched to see it. I'm not sure about the angle they went with Peter Dinklage, but I mean, okay, a little Toxic Avenger, sure. Like,
Yeah.
but Macon's a talented guy, so I don't know.
Awesome.
I'm excited to see it. And yeah, like forever, like Lloyd's gonna be one of my biggest inspirations. Lloyd and Roger Corman, and yeah, like basically like yeah, like Sam Raimi, like even like the way those
Hell
guys
yeah.
began. Like I'm very much
Yeah.
into those guys that just went out and just did it and didn't
Yeah,
wait,
for sure.
and that's how I did it. I've got my own Roger Corman in Vermont. His name is David Giancola, and I've worked with him over the years. He was my mentor. He runs a company called Edgewood Studios, which gets parodied a lot by Mystery Science Theater 3000
Okay.
and now Rift Tracks. So
Okay.
if you've seen the movie Time Chasers, that's who I'm talking about.
Okay. I don't know if I have or not, but
You definitely
it
check
sounds
out
familiar.
the Mystery Science Theater 3000 of Time Chasers. It's one of the
Okay.
best episodes.
Nice.
But Dave is the reason why I got to produce my first feature-length narrative, which was a sci-fi starring Sean Young and Sam J. Jones, who played Flash Gordon. And
Oh wow.
and
How was Sean Young?
she was a blast. I mean, it was I had a friend who worked with her, and I talked to him first before we called her up.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to know what it was like, and he gave me some pointers. And
Okay.
she was fine. I mean, I was the only one that really kind of got some of the crazy stuff you heard about, but it was very brief, and it was more or less just a miscommunication between her and Dave. And we resolved it, and then she was like amazing. She kind of reminded me of my mom.
Okay.
And so I got major mom vibes from her, and
Yeah.
I got this sweet picture of us together after on her rap day. Sam J. Jones was like awesome, Flash Gordon. He's also in the Ted movies. He was just hilarious and really into it. He was happy to be working again because he hadn't worked in film for years. And Maxwell Caulfield, he was from Grease 2 and Empire Records. He was the sexy rock musician guy.
Oh yeah,
Rex
yeah.
Manning.
Yeah.
Empire Records. I got that on VHS too.
Yeah,
I got a whole VHS collection.
Isn't Rex Manning Day coming up?
Rex Manning Day, yeah.
Yeah.
Every time he posts something about it. But it was a great crash course for me in working like Roger Corman or like any of these, like Lloyd Kaufman, like the way Dave makes his movies is very much just like, I've got all this stock footage. How can we write a movie around this stock footage? And, like we can film these actors on this weekend, and that way we don't have to pay for the entire film, for them. We just got them for the weekend. It's like stuff like that. So it taught me, and he taught me a lot about contracts and stuff. So he's been a great mentor. He lives in Vermont. That's where his studio is based, and they have a lot of movies. And I've been working with him a lot throughout the years. But that was the last film I worked on before I moved down to Georgia, and it was kind of a perfect little swan song to Vermont. That's called Accelerator, AXCELL.
Oh yeah.
ERATOR, I think, or ER.
Yeah, I saw that on your IMDb page.
Yep. That I believe is on Tubi and all of the other VOD platforms.
Oh,
cool.
Yeah.
Check it. It's goofy. It's very low budge. You're gonna see scenes from like Transformers movies, but he owned the footage.
That's
it was
awesome.
like the footage they didn't use.
I love that. That's
it's very much like a
got.
sci-fi channel movie.
Yeah.
The first thing I try to tell all up and coming new filmmakers is only work with people that believe in you and your film, not just your film. If they only believe in your film and don't care about you, they're going to fuck you over, and it's not going to work out at the end of the day. They have to believe. They got to back both your film and you. If they're not backing you, fuck them. Get rid of them. Get somebody that cares about you. And I've been living nonstop with people fucking me over that don't care about me, but care about getting their name on something like a band called Death. And that was it. They couldn't give two fucks about me or any of my opinions.
The films you've made that I've seen are beautiful and incredible.
Thank you.
And I'm sorry that you've been fucked over. It fucking sucks.
It is.
And
it pisses me off, but doesn't surprise me that the film industry is like that.
Yeah.
There's a guy. The guy from The Brutalist just was recently interviewed, and he said he hasn't made a cent off of that movie.
Yeah.
I don't know what your future holds, but I appreciate the films you've made, and I hope you can find a way to continue making beautiful art.
Yeah.
Thank you. It helps. Like it helps to hear that, and it helps to have friends because I do feel alone a lot. And
coming up to Chicago, there's lots of filming going on here. Tons.
I toyed with it. I thought about it briefly because I love when we went to Chicago to film. I was really happy with it. Have a good night, guys.
You too, man. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Talk to you
soon, buddy.
Bye-bye.
Take it easy.
Talk to you later. All right. Bye. Everybody, go watch The Crest on Tubi. If you have not seen it, it's phenomenal film. And watch a band called Death. If you have to watch it on YouTube, because that's the only way you can access it, then do that, but just watch it. Like and subscribe to all of our stuff. Make sure you visit us at www.prairiepunkpress.com. You can find all of our links there, except X/Twitter, because we don't fuck around with that. Fuck Elon Musk. I know the other companies aren't great either. At the beginning of the episode, we talked about how awful Meta is. Unfortunately, it's still necessary for now. But yeah, if any of you listening come up with a great new idea for an app that does pretty much the same thing, so we can not use Meta, then do that stuff, and don't sell it to some big company. If we have any tech geniuses in our listening audience. But thanks for listening, everybody. Follow us, like and subscribe. Go watch The Crest on Tubi. Good night, everybody. Bye.
Bye.